We made it through winter. How did our peppers do? All right, you ready for the grand reveal? Hey guys, welcome back. We're just finishing up harvesting these peppers. This is going to be the last of the season. And honestly, I thought we were going to be finished with peppers over a month ago. We generally get our first frost, first killing frost in first part of November. Today is January the 2nd. My pepper plants are still alive. We're harvesting our last crop. It's supposed to get down to about 28, 29 degrees tomorrow night. And I'm out here in short sleeve shirts right now, but temperature's starting to drop. It's supposed to drop for the rest of the day. Well, these pepper plants, 2 of the 3, have done really well for us, and I hate to lose them. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut them down. We're going to dig up the root ball, and we're going to put it in pots. We're going to save them through the winter, and then we're going to put them back out in the spring. This is the amount of peppers that we got off of our very last picking here. A few pounds. Those are going to go into the freezer. Michelle goes through and she takes the seeds out, she chops them up, she runs them through the dicer, and then we put them in gallon-size freezer bags, and then we put them right into the freezer that way. Now, as she's cooking onions and peppers for our meals, she takes them out by the handfuls. They break right loose, no problem. Throw them right into the pan, fry them right up. That's generally how we eat most of our peppers. We have another variety of peppers, most of them are in pots, that we're going to mix in with and get some different styles of seasonings. We're planning on planting those out in the spring next year so that we can get a nice harvest to be able to put into the freezer. And in hopes that maybe next year, during this time, we can dig them up, put them in pots, and again, hold them through the winter. One lady told me that she has held her pepper plant for 11 years just by keeping them in pots through the winter. And so I'm kind of curious how that's going to work out. I've dug up peppers before, put them in pots before, and held them through the winter. I've done it with my Tabasco pepper. You can see those right over there. I have not planted Tabasco peppers in 4 years. I bought one Tabasco plant, put it in my garden over at my mom's where I was living before we bought this place. Dug it up, put it in a pot, brought it here, and planted it out, and it got up over this fence here. It was over 7 foot tall. It was probably about 5 foot wide. We got so many peppers off of that plant. Well, before a winter freeze came, I trimmed it all down, put it in a pot, put it in the garage for the winter, brought it out of the garage, kind of scraped the skin to make sure it was still alive down at the root area, and it was. We put it back in the ground, and it came back with even bigger harvest. So we're kind of hoping that we're doing that today with these Marconi. Like I just told you, these are Marconi sweet peppers. This is a great replacement for the ever popular bell pepper. To me, the bell pepper doesn't taste near as good as the sweet Marconi. We've harvested some red peppers. This is the red variety. And they have other varieties out there, a purple, an orange, and a yellow. And I don't have any experience with those, but I would like to get some seed and start maybe some of those next year. All right, since we've got all of our peppers off of this plant, I'm just going to come right into the bottom here and cut close to the bottom. So that we can get that out of there. Now we've drastically reduced the size of this plant right down to here, and we could probably leave it right there and leave some foliage on that. We're going to take our scissors. It's our first year with the landscape fabric in the garden. Just make a little cut right there. So pull this back, move that sprinkler head out of the way. Pull our pot over here. Then we'll take our shovel and we just get the majority of the roots. See, we got a nice root ball. See, there's no reason to let this plant die and go to waste. We worked all summer to get these plants up and harvestable. Now, when we put this back in the spring, you already have this massive amount of roots ready to go. Put it in the warm soil, give it some fertilizer, and she's off to the races. Now, we're not afraid to take some of this dirt because we're just going to bring it right back out to the garden and put it right back in the ground anyway. Now see, that's a nice little pretty miniaturized pepper plant. It's got a little bit of growth to help get through the shock of cutting it back and digging it out of the ground, but it's got a nice healthy root system, which is most important. You could cut all this growth all the way back to just a single little stem and leave just 2 or 3 little leaves on it, and it would be just fine. Same thing as the last bush that we just trimmed up and put into pots. Real simple, it doesn't take a lot of effort just to come out to the garden. Just reach in here, we want to keep this little bottom shoot that's looking nice and strong there. We're just going to come up about 7 or 8 inches. Give it a nice snip. Just cut these branches out of here. And we'll clean this up in a minute. Scissors, trim back our fabric. We've got landscape fabric staples. We'll come back and we'll staple that back down so that you can't really tell that it was ever opened up. We found a cutworm that's trying to overwinter in the garden right there, but we're going to get him out. Now I'll show you something. Finding that cutworm made me take a look. But if you look right here at the base, it looks like bugs have made their way into the root ball of this pepper plant. I may end up losing this pepper plant whether I want to keep it or not. We're going to give it a shot. We're going to see. It may heal itself up. We may get a good root system off to this other side. We're going to put it back in the ground. We're going to see if it survives. Put that right into the bucket there. Look at there, guys. Nice, healthy soil. We got some nice earthworms right there. Looking good. We're just going to leave him buried right down in there. I'm just going to take some of this good, nice dirt. Put it right on top, give it a shake, settle it all down in there. That is all it is to it. We're going to get these things watered into the buckets. We're going to put them into the garage, and on sunny days, we're just going to bring them out just to kind of give them a little light so that they don't die. And we're just going to keep them through the winter. And we're going to probably end up putting these things right back out in the garden late February, March, depending on what the weather forecast is. And the one pepper that we had an injured rootstock on didn't make it through the winter. However, I have one Marconi pepper that made it through the winter just fine. Plenty of growth on here, or plenty of green leaves. It's starting to actually put on new growth. Also, when I'm looking in the top of these little buds, I'm starting to see bloom buds in there. You can see right in the top of that little bud, there's some blooms starting to form right there. How nice is that? So we're going to go ahead and put this pepper back in the ground. Now I'm going to go ahead and amend the soil, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to amend the soil. I'll be putting it right back in the same spot as one of the pepper plants that came out. And I don't remember if it was this one or the other pepper plant that we dug up. But we went down to our compost pile down by the chicken pen, and we got a nice scoop of compost in there. Now that's mixed with some dirt from our fire pit, so it has charcoal in there. It has a little bit of sand that I put into our compost bin, chicken manure that I dug out of the chicken pen itself, and then just regular old plant matter that was thrown into the compost bin. So it's a little bit of a mix of everything. But I also have a bucket of actual biochar, and we're going to add just a little scoop of that to the soil also. Got some earthworms in there. It's always a good sign if you can dig a hole in your garden and there's worms. Now you have good, healthy, organic soil. All right, so that's a deep enough hole. Let's put a little bit of our compost in there. And we'll save a little bit to mix in around our plant also. I've got some alfalfa pellets. Alfalfa pellets have a plant growth regulator in there, so it helps induce plant growth. So we're going to add just a little bit of that. We don't want to add so much that it starts composting and generating heat. A couple of hands of worm castings. And then a little bit of Hollytone. Hollytone is my standard organic fertilizer that I use all over my entire garden, because I can go to the big box store and get a big bag of this for just a little bit more than you can the little bags that are on the shelf of the other varieties. Put a handful of that in there. And then just a little bit of Epsom salt, magnesium sulfate, not much. And then let's turn that in. Almost forgot, I want to put a little bit of biochar in there. So let's talk about this biochar real quick. I made some charcoal out of some limbs that we had in our burn pile. And before it turned all the way down to ash, you extinguish the flames. Then you got those dark pieces of charcoal. Or you can just buy a bag of lump charcoal at your big box store, like you would put in your Weber and grill with. Well, you crush that into a fine powder, but you've got to charge it. If you don't charge it, it's going to suck all the nutrients out of your soil. So you want this to be a battery of minerals and mycorrhiza ready to go in and nourish these plants. So we put a little bit of the C90 sea salts, which has every element on the periodic table in it except for the gases. And so it's a very nutrient dense, nutrient rich mixture. I put a little bit of my garden soil in here to get those microbes started. I put some fish emulsion in here, and I think I'll put some worm castings in here. And this has been setting for about 3 weeks. And I go by periodically and I stir it up, and man, does it stink. So this should just be a big battery of nutrients ready to go. Now, once you put biochar in your garden, you never have to do it again. It lasts for thousands of years. And that's one of the things I like about it. So we're going to put just a little bit in this hole. And that'll be all right for now. Just want to get some of that down in there. All right, then we're going to take our pepper plant out. It's still in the same soil that I dug it out of in the winter time. So those are the roots that we're working with here. And then we're going to put the rest of our compost soil around the top so that mineralizes down. All right, then we'll bring some water that in, put our landscape fabric back around here, and put an irrigation nozzle on it so that whenever there's a dry period, we can automatically water the garden. All right, I guess over the period of time, we're going to see what this thing does. All right, it's been a few weeks since we did the last little update where you saw us planting the pepper back out into the garden. We went off and we bought a few more pepper plants. I actually did end up raising some yellow Marconi from seed, and we've put those into the garden. Since it's been a few weeks, I kind of want to show you a little bit of the progress on the pepper that we put back in the garden before we close out this video. So right here is our golden Marconi that we raised for seed. And those are doing all right. Now I also went and I bought some more red Marconi from the same lady in town that I buy all my pepper plants from. But here's what I really want to show you. This is the pepper plant that we saved, put back in the garden about 2 weeks ago. And you can see that those buds have already bloomed out. I've got some nice little growth going on there. And everything looks good, and it looks to be well on its way. Mostly into the 70s. I think we touched 80 yesterday. We're supposed to get back down to like 40 this weekend. So our cool spell's not over, but it hadn't really warmed up yet. Once it warms up, those peppers will really kick in and they'll start doing a lot better. And we're going to go ahead and hit some of these other peppers up with a little bit of fertilizer. And I want to show you the ones I've got in buckets. So I've got a Cane Star Lemon Starburst. And if you're not a pepper person and don't know this pepper, you can't buy these pepper seeds. They have to be given to you. And so I ordered some pepper seeds and they were given as a free gift. And this is probably the best pepper plant or best pepper I've ever had my entire life. That is a wonderful tasting pepper. I put it in a bucket. I got 3 plants down in there and it was loaded with peppers right up until it turned off cold, and then it just kind of stopped performing. But if you look in there, it's gearing up. I've got a lot of buds and this thing is getting ready to start blooming again. You can see all those little blooms. Got some nice little new growth going on right there. I can't wait to do more with these peppers. This is by far my favorite pepper I've ever had. And these are some of the others that I have that I raised out. This is a Rainforest. That's a really good tasting pepper. And then this is a Lemon Drop. I've really clipped it back, but it's also gearing up and it's getting ready to start producing some more peppers for us. And there's our our Sugar Rush peach right in there, and it won't be long we'll start getting some buds off of that. This is an Apocalypse Scorpion. You can see that it's already blooming. Got some nice growth going on there. That's a really good looking plant, and it has done very well in pots. Grenada seasoning pepper. We're gonna probably end up putting this one in ground just because it has a nice good sized pepper and has a lot of flavor, and we're gonna mix those in with our Marconis as a seasoning type of a pepper. And Venezuelan Tiger, again, loading up with buds, nice new growth on that. Looking real good. It's doing very well in that one pot. We won't eat a lot of the hot peppers. We're going to definitely keep our hot peppers in pots just because we don't eat very many of them. And then this is another really good one. This is Starfish. This is an orange Starfish pepper. Does absolutely wonderful. Great tasting pepper. I really like that one a lot. And then I got some purple cayenne and red cayenne in this pot here. And it's loading up with blooms. Getting ready to do its thing. All right, that's going to wrap up our little pepper video. I hope you enjoyed it, and stay tuned. We're going to provide updates, see how these peppers do throughout the year. Hope you enjoy the video. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe,